Hi, today we're going to look at standard deviation, again without a calculator, and this time looking at exam standard questions. So the first thing I'd like you to do, a couple of questions, a bit of revision, pause the video and try these questions here. We've got the standard deviation formula up in the top corner there. Okay, and these are the two answers that you should have got there. So for the first one, a equals 7, and for the second one, a equals 3 and b equals root 2. Okay, I'll go over these as I have done with the other questions. Okay, so on the left-hand side here, you'll see that I have my mean. I've added my four numbers together and divided by 4. The numbers on the top added up to 32. 32, remember this line means divide. 32 divided by 4 makes your mean of 8. So I'm going to go back to setting up my table now. Okay, so as I've done before, these are my 3 labels for my table. Remember, it's building up to this bit here, which comes from the formula there. Okay, now remember this sign here means add, and that's what we pop on the bottom of our table. Okay, so top part of that fraction is what we end up with when we add up together in our table. So first job I've got to do, take each of these numbers and put them into this table here. Okay, so all I've done is I've taken that list of numbers and I've put them into that column there. And I'll start to work out the middle column of my table now. Okay, as I've done before, I've taken each of these numbers from here and started off my bracket with that. And of course the missing number here is the mean. So back across here to get my mean, so I'm going to be putting 8s in this column here. Okay, so that's me ready now. I've got my 8s in place, so I can start to work out the numbers in the last column. Okay, so like I always say, watch your negative numbers. 3 take away 8 is minus 5. 5 take away 8 is minus 3. This one's fine, that one should be fine as well. So remember, when you square something, you're multiplying it by itself. A negative times a negative makes a positive, so each of these are all going to end up with a positive answer. Okay, so that's my numbers in place. 5 squared is 25, 3 squared is 9, 1 squared is 1, and 7 times 7 is 49. So just need to add all of those together. I think that adds up to be 84. Okay, so that's my 84 in place there. So remember, this is the sum of the last column. Okay, and that's what I need for the top of my fraction over here. Okay, so I've got that in place now. Square root going across the bottom and the top of this fraction, okay? Remember the bottom, and take away 1, how many points have we got? How many pieces of data we got? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 take away 1 makes 3. Okay, so I'm hoping, I know, that 3 goes into 84. 3 goes into 8 twice with 2 left over. 3 goes into 24 8 times. Okay, so I have worked out that 84 divided by 3, 84 divided by 3 makes 28. Okay, so the next thing you need to think of now, is that simplified? Obviously not, because I just wrote equals. What square number goes into 28? 4 does. So this is your third work coming in. The square root of 4 is 2, and the square root of 7, I don't know. And that's your answer for your first one there. No, it's not, actually. Need to go back and read the question. The standard deviation for these numbers can be written as 2 root a. Find a. So I'm pleased that my answer has got 2 root something, because that's what we're hoping for, 2 root something, where that something is 7. So my final answer is actually 7. Okay, I'm going to do this next one super quick. Okay, so you'll see here that you should have got that the mean is equal to 4. So did you get that? If not, have a look, pause the video, have a look and see where you went wrong. Okay, did you get your table set up like this? Did you make sure that you put your mean into the correct place? Okay, I'm at the point here where I'm about to start squaring. So check what you've got down this column here. Did you get these numbers the same as me? Okay, next thing to check, did you get those numbers down there correct? And I'm just going to fill in the last bit where I need to add up the numbers, and I get 18 for that bit. Okay, remember that for this bit here, this is the same as the top of my formula. So this 18 is going to go in the top here. And on the bottom, how many numbers have we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 take away 1 makes 4. Okay, so 18 divided by 4, that doesn't go in, so I'm going to look at doing the square root of 18 and look at the square root of 4. I know what the square root of 4 is, that makes 2. Square root of 18, think of a square number. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 2 I don't know. And I've still got that 2 on the bottom. Last thing to check, have I answered the question? No, it says it can be written as a root b over 2. Okay, does mine look like that? Yeah, it's got a number and then square root of a number. So that tells me that a is 3 and b is root 2. Now, what happens with a lot of these questions is people see this bit here and they actually don't even start the question, right? Whereas all I actually read was the standard deviation for these numbers, right? I didn't go any further than that to start with, and I got all this working out in place, all this done just from reading that bit, the standard deviation for this. Okay, and then you would get your mark for that wee last bit at the end, okay, so we don't get put off by that. Okay, here's an old exam question. Pause the video and attempt this question. Okay, here's another old exam question. Again, pause the video and attempt this one. And here's another one, only 3. Here's one more. Pause the video and try this one too. Okay, so for the first exam question that I gave you to do, you should have got a final answer. Okay, you were finding A, so you would have got, or should have got, the square root of 8, meaning that the value of the A is 8. Okay, so there's the answer, that A equals 8. Okay, so you get a mark for finding your mean, which is 3, and this here, okay, this list of numbers here is what you would have had in the last column of your table. So getting the last column right and the mean gives you 1 mark. Okay, if you manage to start working out the standard deviation, okay, so you would have had 32 over 4 somewhere. You might well have written that with a square root sign over it. Okay, but hopefully when you finally got your A, I'm hoping that you just wrote 8 for that. Okay, because I know that root A equals root 8. So if we square both sides, we would get A is 8. Okay. Now the thing that stumps some people with this one actually is that when they get the square root of 8, they can see that 4 goes into 8, 4 times 2, and then they finish it off as 2 root 2. Okay, so it's a bit of a trick question, this one, because actually you're not being expected to finish off the question in the way that you normally would. you're stopping here and getting the 8 at that point there. Okay, for this exam question here, you should have finished up with this answer being 3 root 2 over 2. So you can see very clearly from there that the number at the front, here is A, here is 3, and the number in the root, the B there, is 2 over there. So B is 2. Okay, let's see where we get our marks from for that. If you worked out your mean correctly, you got your first mark. Your first bullet point, remember, is 1 mark. This bit is the last column of your table. So if you've got 90414 in the last column of your table, you've got your second mark. If you manage to substitute 18 and 4 into the standard deviation formula, you get your third mark. And for number 4, okay, that's where you need to have your A equals 3 and your B equals 2. And they were being quite kind that year because they actually let you leave it like that. But I wouldn't recommend that. The question was asking for A and B, so be careful. Okay, this question had 2 parts to it, so hopefully for part A, you did manage to find that the standard deviation came to root 3. Okay, so you still need to do your table and everything, it's just you know that you're aiming to get that root 3. Okay, now part B, it says write down the standard deviation for these numbers here. Okay, now this is where it's important that you remember that standard deviation is a measure of how spread out the numbers are. Okay, so if you notice, if you take that, add 100, take that, add 100, take that one, add 100, take that one, add 100, take that one, add 100. Now what you don't want to do is to take your standard deviation from here and add 100. Okay, so do not take that and add 100 to it. These numbers here have the same spread as these numbers here. Okay, so for part B, the standard deviation is still root 3. These numbers are spread out by the same amount as these ones here. Okay, so where did the marks come from for this one? So this one was 1 mark for finding the mean and for getting the last column of your table correct. So having 1, 1, 1, 0 and 9 correct in your table. Okay, mark number 2 was for substituting correctly into our standard deviation formula. So that's what that bit is. And then number 3, your third mark there, was for finishing this off and turning it into root 3. Okay, now that's the end of the lesson, but I am going to go through the working out for these 3 exam questions. So you can either stop the video if you've got all the answers right, or you can fast forward to the questions where you need to see how to fix your mistake. Okay, so like in all the other questions, I'm going to start off by finding the mean. Okay, so did you manage to get your mean right? Remember, that's your x bar. Okay, pause it if you need to try and figure out where you went wrong. Okay, I've started to set up my table, so have a look at your table. Does your table look like mine? If you got your mean wrong, then you'll have to redo the rest of that to get the question right. Okay, that's me filling out the last column of the table there. What does that come to? 32. Okay, and that gives me what I need for the top part of my standard deviation formula there. Okay, so I've substituted in my 32. The other thing I've substituted in is up here there are 5 numbers. So when you come to your formula, 5 take away 1 makes 4. So watch out for that. I quite often see the 5 appearing in there. Okay, so remember this line means divide. 32 divided by 4 makes 8. Okay, now that was, we would normally carry that on and simplify that, but we're being asked for that. Okay, and that looks similar. So this is the point at which I would be thinking, right, these look similar. Root A equals root 8. If I square both of those, I will get A equals 8. And that was the answer that they were looking for there. Okay, so you can just stop it and look for your mistakes if you need to. But hopefully that's okay now. Okay, again, I'll start off by finding my mean for these. Okay, so that's my working out for the mean there. So have a look at your working out. Did you get your mean as 4 as well? If not, have a look back through my working out and see where you've made a mistake. Okay, I'm going to start to fill in my table next. So remember, if you forget what to put in your table, okay, this bit here, the last column of your table, comes from the top part of our formula over here. So I'm going to start putting the numbers in. So each of these numbers here are going to go into my table. Okay, so I've got my mean as 4, and my mean of 4 is up and down this column here. So those are my numbers that came from that list. Okay, and I'm going to be subtracting 4 from each. Okay, and that's what you should have got in your last column. So make sure that your last column looks like mine. Where did you go wrong if you didn't get that? I'm going to go fill in the bottom bit now. Okay, so that's me filled in the bottom. Remember this Greek letter, sigma, this Greek letter is for the sum. Okay, the sum of all the numbers in that column came to 18. Okay, 9 add 4 add 1 add 4 came to 18. So that's me ready now to be going to my formula. Okay, so I've taken 18 from my table and it's on the top. 4, again, it's quite common for people to write 5 there. There are 5 numbers in your list, but remember you're doing take away 1, so that ends up being 4. I'm sure we've seen these numbers before. 18 divided by 4, remember that line means divide. 18 divided by 4 I can't do, so I am going to work out the square root of 18 and the square root of 4 separately. Now the square root of 18 has a square number that goes into it, 9. 9 times 2. And the square root of 4, this bit on the bottom, the square root of 4 is going to make 2. The square root of 9 is 3. The square root of 2, I don't know, and we've got the 2 that's on the bottom of the fraction there. Now, I know I haven't finished answering this because it asked me to put it into that form there. I have put it into that form, but I just need to work out what the A and the B values are. Okay, so they want it like this, which I've done, and that helps me to work out that where the A is, I've got a 3 in my answer, and where the B is here, I have got a 2 in my answer. And that's that one finished. Okay, so even if you don't understand this bit here, you can still do all that working out. Okay, so plenty marks to be had. Okay, same old routine. I'm going to work out the mean first. Okay, so did you get your mean coming out as 2 as well? Okay, if you didn't, have a look back and see where you went wrong. I'm going to start filling out the table. Okay, so your table should look like this. You should end up with the last column having 3 1s, a 0 and a 9 there, which adds up to make 12. So remember that this bit here is what we need for the top part of our standard deviation. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. 5 take away 1 makes 4 there. Now this one I can work out. 12 divided by 4 makes 3, and that was the answer that we were looking for there. Okay, remember the answer to part B, the standard deviation for that one was also √3, because these numbers are just the list above with 100 added on, so they're both spread out in the same way. Okay, that's the end of today's lesson. I've got a few more slides that you might want to look at if you want to do some extra work. Okay, so I'll just play those now as well. Okay, here's an extra question that I made up, so you can have a go at that one, see how you got on with that. Pause it if you want to try it. And here's some more that you can try as well if you need some extra practice. Okay, that's more than enough practice there, isn't it? Okay, so thanks for watching. I'll see you another time.